UFC 284 was this Saturday. So Islam wins by, what was it, unanimous decision
Yeah.
in a very close fight. I think Volk just I think Volk just kind of handed this one away. Not knowingly, but he kind of did. I had Islam winning the first and the second round, and then clearly won the fourth. Yeah, I had Islam round one, round two. Volk was good, man. Volk was looking really good at the beginning. He was hurting Islam. I think Islam even got wobbled with in the very beginning of the fight, but then he got dropped. He got overzealous. He was coming in too much. He was too predictable the way he was coming in, and Islam being fresh, he was able to counterpunch, and he dropped Volk to a knee, I think, in the first round. And the second round, I think he dropped him hard, or he might have dropped to a knee the second round, but I know he got dropped twice, one in each round, which I think that's what won Islam those rounds. And then the fourth round was the one where he had him in the body triangle the whole round, 5 minutes, and I think he had him controlled for 4 minutes of those 5 minutes. He had him down.
Yeah, so I have the scorecard here right now. There was no 10-8s. No 10-8
No 10
scored,
eights. Okay.
but the first judge had it 1, 2, and 4 for Islam.
Mm-hmm.
The second judge, which he's blind, he had the first 4 rounds for Islam when I already know Islam clearly lost the third. And then again, the third judge had it 1, 2, 4 for Islam, which I thought was what Islam got. I think Islam won. First round was the closest round, I believe, but I believe he won that. The second round he won, and the fourth, I mean, he was dominant in the fourth. Just
Mm-hmm.
had that body triangle around him. Volk pretty much gave up that round.
This fight's really weird, right? Because it's one of those fights to where it's like, yeah, we all know Islam won on the scorecards, but I mean, come on, Alexander Volkanovski won the fight. At the end of the fight, like if we're talking about like Islam Makhachev won the fight on the scorecards, and if you ask me as a judge who won the fight, Islam Makhachev. But as a fan, like forget the scorecards, forget technically he landed this many and he did this much and this and this and that and this and that. As a fan, everybody thinks everybody knows Volkanovski won. Look how the fight ended. The fight ended. Islam quit, man. He gave up. He had enough. At the end of the fight, Islam was on his back. Alexander was on top, Khabibing him. Straight up Islaming Islam, bro. So man, when you look at the scorecards, yeah, Islam won more rounds. I think Alexander could have won the fight. He kind of gave away in the fourth round. We were talking about this off air. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. When Alexander Volkanovski, they were kind of on the ground and kind of what do you want to say, like not like a 50-50. Islam had him down by the waist, and Alexander was trying to get up, and he turned around and started talking shit to Islam's corner.
As he was
Wasn't paying
crawling to
attention.
the cage, but it was
Yeah,
too late. Islam
he wasn't
climbed him.
he wasn't paying attention. He turned around and he spent a good 2 seconds instead of moving. He spent a good 2 seconds literally just talking to Islam's cage, and Islam took his back and kept
Mm-hmm.
his back for the whole round.
There was
Now,
another one of those. There was another one of those. I don't remember what round, but I remember they were clinching in the center of the octagon. Volk, for some reason, I don't know why, he turned back and started saying something, and as soon as he did it, Islam did an inside leg trip, took him down. If you don't do that, you
yeah,
just focus on the fight, you don't get taken down.
yeah, Alex, I mean, he had his legs from the front. Alexander was turning around he was about to try to bring his bottom leg out from underneath his body and start trying to get up, and he started talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Islam grabbed him, held him and it's like, if, who knows, you know what I mean? Islam did have a hold of his legs. Who knows if he wouldn't have gotten him down anyways, but you got to think Alexander's kicking himself in the ass for that, right?
Yeah, he's
Like,
gonna watch this fight back, and he's just gonna think like, all right, I was doing a little bit too much. I was in situations where I kind of let him have the advantage when I should have just have been more focused on the fight and more focused on what I was doing.
Because if Volk's paying attention and he manages to get up in that exchange, he probably wins the fight, right? If he's not on his back for the entire fourth round, he probably wins the fight, right?
Yeah, he was winning the round. He was winning the well, Islam was winning the exchanges in the beginning in the stand up, but from the third round on, Volk was coming on big with the striking. He was landing some much cleaner shots because I think Islam was tiring due to the pressure of Volk. So yeah, if he doesn't get taken down, he doesn't get held in that body triangle for the whole round. There's a good there's a good argument for him that he could have really won this fight because even the fifth round, he just completely dominated that round.
Yeah, we were saying that last night, man. We were saying when the first 3 rounds were over, we were all in agreement. If Volkanovski wins the next 2 rounds, he wins the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And he was that fourth round. If you go back and watch the fourth round, dude, he was doing great. He was doing good, man. Volkanovski was doing good, and then he gave up his back. But even when he did have his back given up, I don't think that's what necessarily lost him the round because Makhachev didn't do shit that whole time. Dude,
it's dominant position.
I think that's what people are arguing about.
I think it was the submission attempt. Now it was the time he had all that time on Volkanovski's back, but Volkanovski was exploding his face, dude. Like Makhachev didn't do nothing from his back. Volkanovski was throwing heavy shots, and Islam was eating them. I think it was the time on the dominant position with he had the dominant position all the time, and then at the end he had that really, 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 really strong kind of submission attempt, and that kind of solidified the round.
Well, he was swimming for the neck, but I don't know. I don't see how a ref can give Volk a round when Islam has his back, has dominant position, and yes, Volk was throwing punches, but those aren't really punches that can hurt a MMA fighter. Like, I'm sorry, but he's punching him in the top of the head. Like, he's not those punches really don't hurt. Like, he'll be able to eat those for days. So I don't know, man.
What I'm saying is, even though he's on his back, he's still doing damage, and Makhachev isn't doing anything. Makhachev is just swimming for the choke, and he's not going anywhere with it. Like
yeah, but the thing is though is that there's always a chance that if Volk would have slipped up once and raised his chin, the fight was over. So that's what you're thinking. You're thinking Islam is in a dominant position to where he can finish the fight. Volk is just doing damage. He can't finish the fight in that position.
Yeah, the fourth round was a clear example of the UFC rules getting the better of them because Islam has the control, but Volk is landing the strikes. So I think it depends on like a judge to judge basis. What do they consider more dominant? Islam holding onto a body triangle, not really landing anything, not really doing much, or Volk being held in a body triangle, landing multiple strikes because he outstruck him 49-19. He heavily outstruck him. But what do you consider as more, the punching from Volk or the control from Islam?
Well, you got to think about it like this too. If you just take that in isolation. If you just say, okay, Islam Makhachev has Volkanovski in a body lock for 1 round, right? And Volkanovski is landing punches that whole round, and Makhachev isn't doing shit that whole round, then I'd give it to Volkanovski. But there's a whole lot of other things that you have to take into account when it comes to that exchange too. Yeah, Volkanovski has gotten his back taken and he's landing the strikes, but it didn't start out that way. Islam had to land the takedown defense. He had to get Volkanovski in his position, take the back, so that's more points. He had to stay on the back the whole time and then finish with a submission. So if it was just like it started out with they fell onto the ground and Volkanovski landed on his back and he was landing strikes the whole time, then yeah, but you got to give Makhachev credit for landing the takedown. You got to give Makhachev credit for taking the back. You got to give Makhachev credit for everything. So, for everything else that happened. So, I don't disagree with the judges. Or with how that was scored. I think Makhachev won that round. But what I'm saying is, that's just in technical terms. I'm saying I think it's very obvious that Makhachev technically won this fight. But I think it is also just as obvious that Volkanovski won the fight kind of in a different way. Like, if you want
Like,
to say morally or whatever.
well, that's only because he's a smaller guy, and at the end he was beating the shit out of him. But I just feel like that specific round, you can compare it to two different things. Like if you're saying, oh, he's causing him damage, but even though he has his back, he's causing him damage. He should have won at least that position. He should have got. Or I would just say win that position. It's not like the Yair case when Emmett had him, took him down, had him in guard, and Yair was elbowing him, like devastating elbows.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. That could finish a fight. They're pretty much in. I mean, granted, Emmett is on top, so he has a more dominant positioning, but that's a 50-50 position. Yair could get up, Yair could switch the position. Really, when you're on someone's back in a body triangle, it's too dominant. And those punches that he was landing weren't devastating. They were just it was just touching him. And with
No,
Islam swimming for the
some of them were really heavy shots. Now they weren't heavy enough to knock him out, obviously from that position. But man, some of them shot. Go back and watch, man. Some of them shots were fucking heavy. Islam took a couple shots off of Volkanovski landed a couple shots off of his back that made Islam like turn his head. Like, damn. Like
well, of
went to
course,
his
no one
eyes.
wants to get punched in the head repeatedly. Even if they aren't hard, you're not gonna freaking let someone punch you in the head repeatedly.
I know, but what I'm
But
saying, some of those shots were, even though
yes, but they
Volkanovski was
weren't
off
gonna
his
end the
back.
fight though.
I'm
That's the
not
thing.
saying they were gonna. I'm not saying
No,
they were
I
gonna
know
be
this, but
tight.
what
I'm
I'm
saying
but what I'm
they were. He did do a pretty good
Antonio.
amount of effective damage. That's all I'm
But what
saying.
I'm saying is, if you're willing to give Volk the positioning, I feel like the damage that he did would have had to been fight ending because Islam was in a position to where if Volk would have slipped up once, he would have ended the fight.
Nobody is saying no. Like I'm not saying that Islam didn't win the round or he wasn't in a more dominant position. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it wasn't an absolute like it's not like Islam fucking won the round. Like it was so decisive. He had his back the whole time, so Islam just won. Like it wasn't like that. Even though Islam had his back the whole time, that round was still close as fuck because of what Volkanovski did while he was on top. It was still one had dominant position and the other one was landing punches. So it goes it not like I'm saying it still goes to Makhachev because he has dominant position. He landed the takedown. You know what I mean? All the positives go to Makhachev. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. But
No, but you're
what I'm
saying it's not a dominant round. In my opinion, it is. Like the punches really weren't. To me, the punches aren't significant at all.
if you just take somebody's back and just lay there for the whole round, that's not a dominant round.
Okay, but it's not like he was just holding his arms down and not doing anything. He was swimming for a choke. Yes, it wasn't working, but he was trying to finish the fight.
Dummy. I was there. I saw him swimming for the choke and trying to finish the fight, but he
Okay, then
couldn't.
that doesn't mean he wasn't doing anything. If you're swimming for a choke, you're trying to finish the fight. He's not not doing anything.
Yeah, Dominic, but like
Just because he didn't get the choke. Okay, yes, you can
Hey,
see
Dominic, so
you're saying just because he didn't get the choke, he wasn't doing anything.
no, but just doing stuff doesn't mean you win. If I throw a bunch of punches at you and none of them land, and you don't throw and like it doesn't mean I
This is a
win.
totally different argument because
I know that's
it's
what I'm
just
saying. All I'm saying is it's not like, oh my God, Makachev had his back the whole time and he was dominating. It's a fucking 10-8 round.
okay, but
What I'm
nobody
saying is
nobody said that. I'm
rounds,
just saying that nobody let me just say this. After the fourth round, did anybody believe Volk won that round? I believe nobody believed that Volk won that round, which means that it was a dominant round. I'm not saying it's a 10-8, but he decisively won the round because of the positioning and the way he was going about the positioning. He wasn't just holding his arms there.
Okay. You know what? I'll say this to make you happy. he decisively won the round, but it wasn't a dominant win. He didn't dominantly win the round.
I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying it was a 10-8 round.
No,
I'm just
I
saying he
said
had the dominant positioning, and
Mhm.
he was swimming for a finish.
no.
He was
I
trying to
mentioned.
finish the fight.
I just thought that, I just
No,
mentioned the 10-8 because
I know that.
one of the judges had like Volk down by 1 extra point. So I just assumed that they thought that round was a 10-8 just because it was very clear that Volk really only won rounds 3 and 5. So I thought that they made that round 4 a 10-8, which I didn't agree with. I just thought that judge did that. So that's how
No,
why I
that
brought up the
judge gave
10-8.
Islam the third round.
Yeah. I just thought that because of that scorecard, I was like, no way Islam got the third round. So I just assumed that they gave him a 10-8 that round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I'm saying Islam Makhachev won the round. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying it wasn't this crazy dominant. He had dominant position for the whole round.
Yep. At the end of the
I
day,
agree.
I think
I'm
if
just
people
saying it
go
wasn't
back and
a
watch the
it
fight,
wasn't a dominant win.
I think if people go back and watch the fight, they'll realize, Islam, he won that fight. Yeah,
If
If this was a street fight, if this was a fight on the street, take away the judges, you would think Alex won the fight. But because there's judges, because there's rounds, you have to win rounds. You can win all 4 rounds. It doesn't matter if you almost get finished 10 times the 5th round, you still win the fight. At the end of the day, Islam won more rounds, so he gets the nod.
I mean, it's a moral victory for Volk because I mean, he went up to fight the champ at 155. The champ struggles to make the weight, so he's huge for that division and did a great job in the fight. Like I think, to be honest with you, I think if they fight again, I think Volk's gonna win. I think Volk, even though he lost, he showcased why he's the pound for pound best in the world. I think he's the #1 fighter in the world. I think Islam is number 2. I just think Islam won the fight just based off the rounds that he won. He won 1, 2, and 4. He wins the fight. That's it. But I
Yeah,
think Islam should be happy with, or sorry, Volk should be happy with his performance. And if they fight again, I think Volk should be the favorite. I think Volk will win.